Yeah, so the major difference between a psychopath and a sociopath is the fact that a sociopath is made while a psychopath is born. That's the major difference between them two. A sociopath learns from the environment, from the family, from school, from peer groups. They learn just to get by. But a psychopath is born that way. You're welcome to today's edition. We are going to be discussing about mental health, and not just that, we'll be talking about emotional intelligence and emotional intelligence quotient. So I think we should start with who a narcissist is. A narcissist, um, a psychopath, and finally a sociopath. A narcissist. A narcissist is someone who lacks empathy. You know, someone who doesn't feel remorse. A narcissist is someone who is entitled. He constantly seeking validation. He wants people to know that yeah, he's valid. They should recognize him. That's what a narcissist is. A narcissist is arrogant. These are some of the features of a narcissist. Is arrogant, and narcissism it's a disorder of self-esteem. If you'd ask me, it's a disorder of self-esteem. Yeah, when someone is a narcissist, like when he does something wrong, you know, he feels a fair amount of guilt. Like, I shouldn't have done that. That's who a narcissist is. He feels a fair amount of guilt and shame. That's a narcissist for you. More shame than guilt, though, because he's more interested in what people think. They are concerned about what people think. You know, they don't like being, you know, viewed negatively. Like someone should just see them and feel like this is a negative person. I don't know if you understand that part. Then, when they do something wrong, when a narcissist does something wrong, let's say he was driving really fast and then he beats the traffic, he'll be like, "Oh, I shouldn't have done that." That's a narcissist for you. A psychopath, on the other hand, he is everything I've mentioned so far, except for the fact that he doesn't feel no guilt. He doesn't feel guilt or shame. He doesn't feel it at all. Uh, a research was conducted on psychopathy, which they also call antisocial personality disorder. Um, they have slightly different autonomic nervous system. This is the part of us that holds our sympathetic nerves system. Like, this is a part of us that holds the sympathetic nervous system. Now, um, which is our fight or flight system? Is our fight or flight system. This system gets charged up when we do something that is wrong, like when you're driving and then you see, a police siren behind you, or when you break a rule, you become nervous because this system is charged up. You'll be like, oh my God, this just happened, you know. That is for a normal person. A normal person will feel that, like, oh my God, did I just do something wrong? Why is the cop behind me? Why did I beat the traffic? A normal person, their nervous system get charged up when they do something that is contrary to the law, something that is wrong. You know, when your heart start to speed, I don't know, when you like run into a red light in the traffic, your heart starts to skip or speed rather, and you become very sweaty and or this arousal is only seen, this arousal that you feel is only seen in a normal person. If you're normal, this arousal will be seen in you, you know. But a psychopath doesn't have this. They don't have this. They can hide a lot of negative emotions. They could do something wrong and you won't see it in their face. You just bottle everything in. You'll never get to see, you know, what exactly they feel. They're like the screen guards of the phone. Okay, let's not use the screen guard as an example, but that is what a psychopath is. They hide what they feel and what they do, and they won't even show it. They won't get nervous, they won't get curious, they won't get sweaty. They'll just be cool and calm, even though they've done something very, very wrong. That is who a psychopath is. So they tend to be really intelligent. That's one thing about psychopaths. They are very, very intelligent and they are very, very manipulative. A psychopath is very intelligent and very manipulative. Don't forget that part. They are very manipulative. A person is said to be a psychopath after birth. Like I said earlier on, if you were listening, a psychopath is born, while a sociopath is made. We've not gotten to the sociopath part, but we're still on the psychopath. We're still explaining who a psychopath is. Now, before a person is said to be a psychopath, if after birth, you know, he starts exhibiting psychopathic traits, that's what they call it. He starts exhibiting some traits of, for example, truancy. Yeah, between the age of, let's say 2 to adolescence, let's say 15, when he starts exhibiting things like, petty crimes, taking things of other kids, not wanting to go to school, starting a fire. And when they do things like this, they don't even feel remorse. They don't feel bad about it. They just want to do it. It's done. That's it. So they exhibit violence, truancy, like I said earlier on. They are rude and some unacceptable characters. So when a child exhibits some of these characters, um, it is said that that child is psychopathic because at that age, from 2 years to 15, he has already started exhibiting these characters without someone influencing him to do so. Now, that is the major difference between a psychopath and a sociopath. A sociopath would learn, which I'm coming to that. I just want to conclude the psychopath part so I can move to the sociopath. So, I think you understand who a psychopath is from this. Now, moving forward, let's talk about a sociopath. Who is a sociopath? Well, a sociopath, this looks very much like a psychopath, you know, but they were made, you know. All the characteristics I've just mentioned about a psychopath is what a sociopath have. A sociopath have all of these characteristics, but the plain difference or the major difference between a psychopath and a sociopath is the fact that a sociopath was made. He was made. Now, a kid that grows up in a really, really let's say, a tough neighborhood, you know, he has to learn the hard way just to get by. I don't know if you understand that part. Now, criminality to get by is, something he has to learn. He has to learn how to be dubious, how to be cunning, how to manipulate people, how to lie, how to cheat. All of these things are things that a child who grows up in a really, really rough neighborhood would need to learn in order to get by. Now, the point I'm trying to make here is that these characteristics and features are not part of this child. They are not inborn. He just have to learn them from the society or from his peers, just to get by. So, and he he's not. I don't know. He's not always so comfortable. You know, he feels a fair amount of guilt when he does something. He's not so comfortable doing it, but I gotta do it, so I need to get ahead. Uh, he feels a fair amount of guilt and then shame, but then again, he just have to do it. Because he has to learn to do all the bad things just to get by. You know, he's not so comfortable, like I said before, and they don't tend to seek therapy. Yeah, they don't tend to seek therapy. The only time a psychopath or a sociopath seeks therapy is if they are court ordered to do so. When the judge orders them to see a therapist in order to, ease their punishments, or maybe in order for them to get out of jail, if the court orders them to see a therapist, that is the only time they go for, you know, therapy and counseling. They really don't feel the need to do so because they think, especially the psychopath, think what he's doing is right. He doesn't see a problem in what he does. A sociopath, however, feels like, okay, what I'm doing is, well, it may be right, it may be wrong, because he learned from the society. But the psychopath doesn't see the wrong part. He just feel like he just does what he feels, man. He just does it. He doesn't care who gets hurt. He just want to do it. That's what a psychopath is. A sociopath, well, I don't know if he's right or if he's wrong, but I just gotta do it. You know. And then a narcissist, he feels a fair amount of guilt, like I said earlier on. Like, oh, I probably shouldn't have done that. That thing I did was wrong. That's who a narcissist is. So they act first. I need you to understand this point I'm about to make. They act first and think later. They act first and then think later. Instead of thinking first before acting, they act first and then they think later. Now, asking about empathy, if they feel empathy, because some people think that you need to feel empathy in order to hurt someone. Um, Empathy is a positive emotion. Empathy is a positive emotion. Hurting someone, that's a very antagonistic move. Hurting someone. Now, empathy, like I said, is a positive emotion. Hurting someone is very antagonistic. You don't need empathy to hurt someone. You really don't need empathy to hurt anyone. You just study their vulnerability and just act accordingly. So it is more like when someone doesn't have empathy, when someone hurts someone and you feel like he he has empathy, that's where he knows that his actions is going to hurt someone. No, he doesn't have empathy. He has understanding. That's what he has. There's a difference between empathy and understanding. He just simply knows that if he does this, the person is going to feel bad. Now, having empathy is a very positive emotion. Like I said, you feel like, oh my God, this thing I'm about to do, I'm about to say, is gonna really, hurt this person, and you would have the desire to do to send out positive emotions in order not to hurt the person. That is what empathy is. But understanding that your actions and your words or whatever it is you're about to do is going to hurt someone and you still go ahead with it, that is not empathy. You don't have empathy, you just have understanding of what your action is going to be, or what effect your action is going to have on the person, you know. um, I think from this little video, you've been able to understand the difference between a psychopath, a sociopath, and a narcissist. Now, a psychopath is usually um, a danger, if I'm going to put it that way. Is usually a threat to people around them or and their partners, because they just do, like I said, they manipulate people. They tend to be very intelligent. They just do things and they don't care. A psychopath could just, wake up one morning and someone who has been very good to him all his life, he just walks out of those people's life and don't even look back. You know, maybe the only point where he would look back is when he actually needs them to do something for him. That's who a psychopath is. They lack empathy, but a normal person who has bonded and attached with people over the years will feel very reluctant about. In fact, it will be almost impossible for them to detach from someone they've known all their lives, because there's a degree of confidence that they've grown over the years. There's a degree um, of getting comfortable. They've gotten comfortable. There's a degree of bond between them that you can't just break. They can't just even imagine themselves breaking. But a psychopath would look past all of these and just act. Like I said, they don't think, they just act, and then maybe they think later. Maybe they think later. A sociopath can be corrected, yeah. Um, when a sociopath moves to a society where um, things are not so rough, when he doesn't have to lie to get by, he doesn't have to be violent to get by, he doesn't have to lie, he doesn't have to cheat, he doesn't have to manipulate, he doesn't have to be cunning. He then adjusts. you know he adjusts over the years. But the point I'm trying to make is, a sociopath would still have this feeling inside that there's a way of doing things differently. you know for example, a sociopath who picks other a kid who picks other kids pencils in school because he couldn't get one for himself, or his parents couldn't afford one, so he has to pick. He knows what he's doing is wrong, but he just pick it, and he feels a fair amount of guilt. Oh my god, this person's pen is something he's using, but I think I need it better, so he just pick. Now, if that kid should move to a better society or a better environment where he doesn't have to pick other children's pen, he would adapt. He would eventually stop doing that. But mind you, deep inside, he has this conscious effort that, okay, when situations arise for me to pick another kid's pen, I will. So that's it. When situations arise for them to pick other kids' pen, they already know inside that there is another way to get by if things are not going, right. So I think that's where we'll stop the edition for today. I can't remember, you're already laughing. It's okay. Thank you very much for listening. I think you've been able to pick one or two things from what I've said. Now, I want you to, for those of you who are fans of Tyler Perry and you watch House and Have Nots, I would like you to go and study the character of Candice Young and tell me, Candice Young, the Veronica Harrington, and Jim Jim Cryer. Who among these three characters is a sociopath? Who among them is a psychopath? And who among them is a narcissist? Who is a narcissist? Who is a sociopath? And who is a psychopath? That is the assignment I'm leaving with you today. All right, have a nice day. Hello. Today we are going to be talking about emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, this is a cautious and conscious. The word there is conscious and cautious. This is a conscious and cautious expression and control of one's emotions and the ability to handle interpersonal relationships with empathy, maturity, and that's it. Empathy and maturity, actually. Now, emotional intelligence is not entirely, a natural gift, as it is learned, or can be developed. That's emotional intelligence. You may not necessarily be born emotionally intelligent, but you can learn it. You can learn emotional intelligence. Now, therefore, there is need for emotional intelligence in our relationships, you know, in our marriages, because your partner can easily make you lose your cool, without much effort, simply because, you love and like the person. So it is easy for them to trigger you to lose your cool, you know. Then also, the line between love and hate, is very, very thin. How a person can, hate someone who they really don't care about is different from how they can hate someone who they actually care about, because they were not really expecting the person to do what he did or act in certain manner. So they actually get so irritated and angry, compared to someone who they really don't care much about, you know. So a person who cannot master his or her emotional intelligence, sorry, a person who cannot master his or her emotions, you know, is a slave, to the circumstances and happenings of life. I wrote that down few, years ago. I kept doing research on it, and I finally found out that it was really, really true. If a person cannot master, his emotions, he becomes a slave to the circumstances and the happenings of life. You should determine your response, and reactions. Don't let your emotions overwhelm you. You run a risk of shipwrecking your affairs, your relationship, or your marriage, if you lack emotional intelligence. You know, you run the risk of, shipwrecking your relationship. You can shipwreck your relationship if you do not have emotional intelligence. You know, marriage is not a cure. This is what people don't understand. Marriage is not a cure for weakness. No, it isn't. Rather, it is. It provides, an atmosphere, that amplifies who you really are. So you recognize. You need to recognize what is sent, to disrupt your peace as a person. You know, when emotional intelligence will help you recognize this. When somebody says something to you in the morning, and you have prayed and hoped for a productive day. Now, your response to that, morning, conversation with someone can actually ruin the entire day. So that is why when somebody says something in the morning, or when you already have a plan and then someone is trying to, you know, someone is trying to ruin it, you need to recognize what is sent, what is sent to ruin your happiness or to ruin your day. So emotional intelligence is what will help you recognize what is sent, to disrupt your peace, you know, and you would counter it and process your way out of it. If you have emotional intelligence, you're going to counter it. You're going to counter what is sent to disrupt your peace, and then you'd maneuver your way, or process your way rather, out of it. Now, intelligence quotient and emotional intelligence quotient, that is IQ, um, uh, shows how smart you are. Intelligence quotient and emotional intelligence quotient shows how smart the person is, while intelligence quotient shows how smart you are, while emotional intelligence quotient shows how emotionally smart the person is. Yeah, I think that's it. That's what I was mixing up. And then what else? I think what is meant to be a great relationship or great marriage uh, can be easily ruined if you do not have emotional intelligence quotient. I repeat, what is meant to be a very, very interesting relationship or marriage can be ruined if you do not have emotional intelligence quotient. You know, emotionally intelligent people are better able to build, happy, healthy, and strong relationship. They can easily identify people who lack these traits. When you have these traits, you can easily recognize people who lack it, you know. And then, furthermore, you must know yourself and understand your temperament. That's another thing about emotional intelligence. You need to know yourself and understand your temperament. This helps you to understand how to react. It helps you to understand how to react. Then, and it helps you to know how to process incidents. It helps you to know how to process incidents. And for example, when a, a kid or a child is crying, yeah, now this naturally triggers anger in some people. They get irritated. They wish the baby wasn't shouting or crying so loud so they can actually focus and do what they're doing, isn't it? As disturbing as the sound is, you try not to pick offense in it because it is only natural for babies to cry. You know, try not to pick offense in it because they are part of the society. You need to understand you're not the only person. When you get to your comfort zone in your room, or if you have a bunker, you can, relax and not be disturbed. But as long as you are in the midst of people, these things are bound to happen. Kids would cry, a lot of noise will be made, a lot of people will say a lot of things. So you just have to program yourself to deal with this. That's what emotional intelligence basically is all about, you know. And there are two ways to do this. You just accept it as a normal happening of life. That's why the child is crying. Or you completely remove yourself from the scene so you don't get irritated or upset. These are measures an emotionally intelligent person would take to protect his peace. So On that note, I think that's where we'll draw the curtain for today. In order not to lose your calm, if you easily get upset or aggressive, then it is smart and intelligence of you to avoid arguments and tense atmosphere.